In this session, we're going to be going over the online guest registration, which your residents need to use when they're having guests over for any period of time, whether it be during the day, at night, or overnight. And they can do this by logging on to their LibAdvisor account. And the first thing that they need to do once logging on to LibAdvisor is click on the student section. And then they're going to go down to the student life section and click on the guest registration form, which will redirect you to this page. And the host who is having the guest over has to fill out their first name, last name, what gender they are, the residence hall, the room number, their cell phone, the sales email, and they'll also need to enter the guest information, which will ask for their names, phone numbers, the guest's vehicle's information so that they don't get a parking ticket, and then they can click on submit registration, and then they'll be checked in through the university. And I can't show you that far because I'm not a student and it won't allow me to take you that far, but that's how you'll direct the students to fill out a online guest registration. Now, while you're on call, you should be checking to see who is in the building and signed into the guest registration. So I'm already logged into the Angel, the sales resident advisor page. So when you're on call, you can check this by clicking on the content tab, and then click on the on-call and incident management, RA on-call, and then in this section you'll see the overnight visitation list. And if you click on that, it will bring up, obviously this is outdated, but it will bring up everyone who's staying over, and which is usually through admissions or athletics, but you always see who is in the building overnight through them. And then the next thing you want to check is the guest registration list, which your guests should have filled out, and it should be in the system. So on this page, it gives you the guest registration list and the instructions, and once the box comes up, you can click on the OK and it will launch, and it will bring you to this Excel document. And if you scroll over the directions list, JP has the directions here listed, and you'll need to disable the security options, and then you can click on the sort list, click OK to replace all cell content, and then use the arrows to sort through the list in your building. So the first step will be to click on the enable content, sort list, and it gives you a runtime error right now, but it will show up once we have students entering their information in the school year starting. It will have all the information here, and then you can sort through your buildings, room numbers, and genders to see who is staying overnight. And like I said, this is for in case there's an emergency, we need to know who's in the building, and you can have an idea, especially if you don't recognize people who are in your building. It's a good way to know who's going where if you're doing rounds. So we'll be going over this in a technology session, and if you have any questions, ask your RHD or fellow RAs, but you should be checking the online guest registration and overnight registration when you're on call to kind of get an idea of who's in the building and who's supposed to be there. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask, but that's how you tell your residents to do the online guest registration, and also when you're on call, how to check the overnight list and the guest registration.